Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Kentucky Small Business Development Center's weekly webinar series. So if you participated in a previous event, we welcome you back. But if this is your first time, we're glad you're here. So just to let you know, we launched this weekly series back in April, and really it was an effort to assist entrepreneurs across the Commonwealth into providing some timely and relevant information while they began facing some daily challenges to their businesses. And what we want to do is make sure we could reach a very wide audience on a very regular basis with timely information. So since April, we've addressed issues such as the CARES Act and funding options that have been available. We've talked about unemployment. We've also turned to alternative funding and pivoting your business, as well as self-care as a business owner and even for your team. So my point is that we've accumulated a nice little library for you. So on our website at kybizhelp.com, you will find information on helping your business through the COVID pandemic, as well as the library of all of our webinars. So if you go to the website, on the far right, there's a drop-down list that says more, and at the bottom it says webinars. So if you click on there, you'll see our whole library since April. And what I would do if I were you, I would go ahead and bookmark that. And so it'll hold that place so that you can go back and look at all of our recordings over the past 5 months. Also on our website, you'll see how to start, fund, and grow your business with additional resources. And also on there is a Facebook Messenger chat feature. So if you wanted to talk to someone right now, right today, you can go there and start chatting, and we have folks standing by to answer your questions. So instead, if you'd like to email us, you can do that at info@kybizhelp.com or call us at 888-475-7232. And as always, we're recording today's event. We'll make that available to you later this afternoon. So if you're needing to step away, or if you're having trouble with some audio or some other issues, you will have access to that whole program. If you look to the right of your screen, you'll find the chat feature. If you have any questions for our presenter today, you can post them here, and we'll answer them at the end of the presentation. And in fact, if you'd like to go ahead and test it now, just tell us where in the Commonwealth you are joining us from today. As always, I'm Janet Flaw. I'm with the Louisville Center, one of 12 centers throughout the Commonwealth. And with me today is my cohort from Louisville, Center Director Dave Etkin. Good Wednesday afternoon to you, Dave.
Hey, Janet. Glad to see you again today. And I'm really excited to have everyone here today, because today is a very special today, because we have a very special guest today, Stormie Andrews, my good friend Stormie, who is from Las Vegas, Nevada. Stormie is a world-renowned keynote speaker. He's an author and founder of a award-winning digital marketing agency located there in Las Vegas. He's also, oddly enough and interestingly enough, a licensed practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming. He's an expert communicator. He's published several award-winning books. One, The Power of the Platform, Speakers on Success. He published with Jack Canfield, Brian Tracy, and Les Brown, several of my favorite authors, and I have them on my shelf right now. That was actually a #1 Amazon Hot New Release bestseller. And then recently, he has just finished and published The World's Best Buyer Persona System, which is what we're going to talk about today, because buyer personas are the foundation for any marketing effort, understanding your customer, and this is super important. We've been talking about marketing quite a bit lately, and I thought we need to take a backtrack. And Stormie was very nice enough to spend some time with us today. So, Stormie, what's the weather like in Las Vegas today?
Oh, I think we're only going to get to like 110 today.
Okay, we're doing great. We're going to hit 100 today, so we're in. Well, Stormie, what can you tell us about buyer personas today? I'm going to just let you take off with it right now.
Okay, so what I'll do, if this is okay, I'll play a little intro video. This way, those of you who are not familiar with me, you'll get a chance to know about me. And this way we can dive right into it. Does that work for you, Dave?
Let's do it. Can't wait.
So here's a little bit more about me.
In 2010, Stormie Andrews co-founded Yokel, an award-winning digital marketing agency located in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. Since then, Yokel has become the first HubSpot Platinum agency partner in the entire state. Since the formation of Yokel, He and his team have gone on to help organizations big and small generate millions in additional revenue. As a licensed practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming, Stormie is continuously recognized as bringing a unique perspective and influence into the world of digital marketing. He's the creator of the world's best buyer persona system, member of the Forbes Agency Council, a frequent contributor to Forbes, recipient of the Member of the Year Award from the American Marketers Association, award-winning author, HubSpot certified trainer, and one of the top 50 tech visionaries as named by Intercom. Stormie has influenced thousands of marketers around the globe. He's often invited to speak at some of the largest conferences and is arguably one of the leading buyer persona experts and marketing strategists in his field. If you are ready to learn from one of the brightest and discover proven strategies of turning strangers into customers, then you're ready for Stormie Andrews.
Okay, so that's a little bit about me, and I'm going to open up some slides here because we're going to have lots of fun today. My goal, let me just get here. Where are my slides? There they are. So I'm going to start a presentation, and my goal is to give you some nuggets that we can run with. So let's start the slide presentation. You already know about me, so we can forget about this slide, but I want to share with you something that we've all experienced. And the cool thing about it is I'm not going to give you this theory and this stuff that if you do it, maybe it will help, maybe it won't help, but I'm going to share with you my story within our organization. And what I'm going to share with you today are the exact principles, the exact strategy that we apply within our organization. You see, when COVID hit, being that we're located in Las Vegas, even though we have customers all over the country, a large contingent of our clients are located here in Las Vegas, and many of them serve the casino industry. So when COVID hit, casinos shut down, which means our clients, many of our clients have to shut down. In the course of a week, it seemed like every phone call that was coming in were people pausing their services. We lost 57% of our revenue in a week, and that's pretty scary when you have payroll. And I'm sure that many of you on this call may have experienced similar scenarios, and I know that you can absolutely relate. Well, I wasn't about to put my head down and just say we're going to close our doors and go out of business. I'm like, we're the buyer persona experts. We're going to figure this out. So what we decided to do is dig deep, dig deep within our organization and apply what we do to our organization and many of our clients. And I'm happy to say that just over 3 weeks ago is when we returned back to profitability after losing 57% of our revenue due to COVID-19. And I'm going to share those exact strategies with you. Does that work for everyone? One of the things I'm going to ask you to do, I'm big on participation. So if you have your chat box, I want each and every one of you to open up your chat, and I'm going to ask you to participate. And I'm going to ask you to use the number 1 for yes, number 2 for no. So if you're ready to get started in your chat, we have people monitoring the chat. Please type some 1s because that means, hey, I'm ready to get the ball rolling and get things started. So what we're going to dive into, let me just move to the next slide, is I'm going to share with you some of the things we discovered, and I want to find out if you agree. So with the year of 2020, let me ask you this. Would you say that the world's changed a bit in 2020? If you can relate to that and you think, yeah, the world's changed, put a 1. If it's changed big time, put a whole bunch of 1s in there. And if you don't think it's changed, put a 2. But I would like to know if you think the world's changed. Absolutely. So we've got lots of 1s coming down there. The world's changed. So if the world has changed, is it fair to say that what about you? Maybe you've changed. Is that a fair statement? And if you've changed, is it a fair statement to say that maybe your customers have changed? And it's not just about wearing masks or not wearing masks. This has been a huge world-changing event. And because of that, the world's best buyer persona system is actually more prevalent today than it's ever been. So with that being said, as we talk about the world's best buyer persona, one of the things that we're going to dive into is, whatever you've done in your business that got your business to where it's at today, congratulations to you. But that doesn't mean it's going to work as effectively as it did moving forward. You see, the target has changed. If your customers have changed and if they've shifted to a new location and you're still shooting your arrows at the old location, you're going to miss the target. So what we're going to do is go over a process and a strategy that you can implement to find out where your ideal customers are within their journey. So this way you can change your messaging, change your tune to meet them where they're at in regards to their needs to help you to continue your growth cycle and get back on that road to success. So with that being said, I'm going to highlight some problems that have been around prior to COVID and they're still around, because here's the problems. The only issue is that the problems that we've experienced as business owners and marketing managers and sales managers and all that stuff in between is the problems have become bigger problems. And historically, here's the problem: unpredictability in regards to sales. Can you relate to that? You know what? One month we're having great sales, the next month we're having soft sales, and when you have unpredictability, it's really, really tough to scale. I'm sure you can relate to that. And with that being said, when you have that unpredictability, most organizations don't want to come off and be too pushy. We've all dealt with those pushy organizations where they look to offset sales by making their salespeople more aggressive. No one really likes that. No one woke up this morning. I can guarantee you that none of you woke up this morning and said, man, I hope I get a pushy salesperson that reaches out to me today. No. So no one wants to be too pushy. And because we don't want to be too pushy, what do? Oftentimes we start spending money on advertising and marketing, and then it's a scenario of maybe you're burning too much cash where you're not getting the results. It's okay if you're getting an ROI, but can you relate to that? Can you, if you can relate to unpredictable sales, not wanting to be too pushy or burning cash, pop some ones inside the chat, because I want to know. And if you can't relate to that, pop twos on here. But if you can, you're really going to enjoy the rest of the presentation, because what we're going to dive into is the solution. And the solution is, how do we get predictable sales? How am I perceived to be more trusted from my ideal clients? And how do I have consistent profitability? Those are some of the things we're going to dive into. Now, with that being said, I'm going to share this, what I call a growth triad, because here is probably one of the greatest factors that I run into that prevents organizations from achieving the type of success that they could achieve. And what I mean by that, as it pertains to your marketing and your advertising dollars and that spend, is I firmly believe that you have to have these three elements. You have to have a documented journey, tools and tactics, the right tools and tactics, and actionable metrics. So what do I mean by that? Well, a documented journey is that's your strategy. And your strategy is, basically, if you want to get from point A to point B, what path are you going to take to get there? You got to know a path, right? Tools and tactics are, what vehicle are you going to use to get from point A to point B? And the actionable metrics, what are you going to designate as your checkpoints to make sure that you are moving in the right direction? So when I meet with organizations, and I'm fortunate enough that I get to meet with hundreds, if not thousands of organizations each year, is I normally find that many organizations have two of these three items. And I want you to think about your organization for just a moment. Because when I run into organizations that have a documented journey and they have tools and tactics, meaning that they have the path outlined of where they want to go, they have a garage full of tools and tactics, but they don't have the actionable metrics in place, I like to call those organizations bull in the china shop, because what happens is they know where they want to get to. They've got tons of tools and tactics, and it's just like, we've got a new tool, we've got a new tactic of the week. This week, hey, let's spend some money on Facebook advertising. I heard that's where we should spend our money, and they start throwing money there. Then, a month or two later, that's not getting the results that they had desired, so now they're throwing money at something else. Can you relate to that? Is that your organization? If it is, I would call your organization a bull in a china shop. Now, let's look at another scenario. Let's say if your organization, you have a documented journey, you have your KPIs, but you don't know the tools and tactics. So you know where you want to go, you know what you want to measure, but you don't know what tools and tactics, you don't know the tools and tactics you should use. I tend to call those organizations stuck in the mud, because you can see where you want to get to. You know the KPIs, you just don't know how to get there. That's stuck in the mud. Can you relate to that? And feel free to share in the chat. If you think you're one of these organizations, type it in, share, say, hey, I'm a bull in the china shop, I'm stuck in the mud. And then the other organization is, or other organizations that I tend to run into, is when you have actionable metrics, you have your tools and tactics, and I like to call these one-hit wonders because occasionally they will hit success. The problem is they really don't know how they got there or what happened, so we run into this scenario where they keep burning through cash because they're trying to regain that success, but they just don't know what happened there. So like I said, you need all three to be successful. You got to have a documented journey. You got to know the right tools and tactics to use and actionable metrics. So today, what we're going to dive into is a documented journey. And these are the foundation of your documented journey that I'm going to share with you. And it's so important because this is the element that I believe that most organizations are missing. So this is where I really hope that you find tons of value. Now, inside the webinar jam, there is a place where we have files where if you want to, you can download these documents. And just so you know, I'm going to make an incredible offer, what I call the world's best $20 offer at the end of this presentation for those of you that want to take what I'm teaching you further without having to pay me thousands of dollars to do this stuff for you, because once you learn the process, it really isn't that difficult, and I want to help businesses grow. So let's talk about the documented journey for just a second. And what the tool I'm going to use is the tool that you see here on the screen, and I like to call this a marketing wheel. So oftentimes when it comes to marketing, and I look at organizations, I look at their marketing plan, they may have a well-documented marketing plan, and you may have a well-documented marketing plan, or maybe you don't, but whatever you have, I think you will find this process to be more simplistic, a process that is easier to execute, a process that's designed to give you results faster. If you want to hear about that and you want me to dive into it, pop some ones in the box. I want to see some ones before I continue. So as soon as I see the first one, I will continue. Do we see some ones coming in? Cool. Okay. We've got some ones coming in. So on the marketing wheel, as it pertains to marketing, from this point forward, it is my hope that you think of your marketing in 8 different categories. And the 8 different categories that you see here in the screen are awareness. And you know, because if people aren't aware of your goods and services, who cares if everything else is running perfectly well, because if they can't find you, they can't find you. But let's say if your awareness is awesome and no one's engaging with your brand, that's a problem. Then we have lead generation. If you're spending money and energy and effort on marketing, you should be able to generate leads. And then another spoke of the wheel is the conversion optimization. Then we have your wow moments. And a wow moment is something that many organizations miss out on. You see, when someone buys your goods and services, oftentimes their emotions start to flare up, and they're wondering, did I make the right decision? Did I choose the right vendor? Well, having wow moments helps bring down the tension, and it helps them feel more comfortable with their goods and services. Then we have something called the customer ladder. Do you have a documented process of taking prospects to customers, and a documented process for converting customers into clients, a documented process of converting your clients into advocates, and a documented process of taking your advocates into becoming raving fans? If you don't, you need one, and we're going to dive into these scenarios. Then do you have a process for garnering reviews and testimonials? Guys and gals, this is where the world's going. If people are looking for your brands online, I'm going to tell you right now, they're going to be checking you out. And the way that they check you out are reviews and testimonials that they see online. If you don't have them, you're really, really missing out, because that's how people are making decisions today. And those statistics keep growing each and every year. And then having a process for generating referrals. So here's an easy technique that I go through. Later on, I'll give you access. I'll tell you how to get access to a course to show you how to build this step by step. But when I build a marketing wheel, I like to look at it like this. Well, let's rate ourselves at each of these 8 categories. So for instance, you can see on the screen that I have inside the marketing wheel, I have many other wheels. And we have the ability of rating, you have the ability of rating yourself on a scale of 1 to 5. So what that means is, if you rate yourself a 1, that means it's non-existent. It's poor. It's really, really bad. On the other hand, if you give yourself a 5 for a particular category, what you're saying is, I am a rock star. There is no one in my space doing this better than me. And if you're a rock star in any of these categories, awesome. If you rate yourself a 3, you're basically saying I'm average. If you rate yourself a 2, I'm below average. If you rate yourself a 4, then you're saying that I'm above average. So this gives you the ability of doing this simple exercise to figure out where you're at. So let's just say if you were doing your own audit of your organization and you're using this marketing wheel as the first tool that you dive into, one of the things that you will do is you will go through and say, okay, how am I doing in terms of awareness? You know what, if I go online and I check out my brand as compared to my competitors or within our marketplace, because I'm really not doing things online, I've got lots of radio ads, TV ads, whatever. How aware are you if someone's looking for your goods and services? Pretty important component to measure. So in this particular scenario, if this was you, let's just say, you know what, we've determined you're a 3, so we put a 3 or where the third ring is. So then we go to ratio and engagement, and we say, okay, engagement, we determined that we don't have anyone engaging with our brand. I'm posting this stuff on social media. No one says anything except my mom and my family members and friends and family, but I really have no engagement. So let's assume for this fictional scenario, we say, okay, my engagement's a 1. Then I look at lead generation. Am I generating any leads from the efforts that I'm putting towards my marketing? And you're like, well, you know, it's not as bad as my engagement, but I'm going to give myself a 2. I'm not average, I'm below average, but you know, I've got something going on. And then what happens is we go to conversion optimization. So that means of the leads you are getting, are you able to convert them into customers? And you're like, yeah, you know what? Of the 3 leads I get a year, I'm pretty good at converting them into customers. But whatever your number is, you know, this gives you the ability to determine where your strengths and your weaknesses are, right? It's like a mini, you know, strength and you know, it allows you to gauge your strengths and weaknesses, and this is what's going to drive your marketing efforts moving forward. So then we say, do I have any wow moments? And you're like, no, you know what? When someone buys from me, all I do is send them a thank you card, and that's all we have. But we could probably take that to another level. So you give yourself a 2. Then we're like, okay, the customer ladder. How are we doing of the customers we get? And maybe you're saying in this scenario, you know what, Stormie, my customers love us. We have processes that once they become a customer, they absolutely become clients and advocates and raving fans. We are pretty darn good there. So, but you determined, but we have lots of room for improvement. That's happening just because we're good guys, we're good gals, we're just doing the right thing. So now, so we give you a 4 in the customer ladder. Then we continue and say reviews and testimonials. We look online, Yelp, Google, Trustpilot, wherever people review your goods and services. And we're like, hey, we're pretty good there. So we're like, not quite a 4, not quite a 3. So we graph it just below a 4. Generating referrals, you may be saying, you know what? Thank goodness for my referrals, because that's where I get all my business from. But the problem with referrals, which are awesome, they're just inconsistent. And you absolutely have to have referrals. That's a sign that you're doing things the right way. Now, on the other hand, if you get no referrals, that may be a sign that there may be some issues in other areas. So once we plot this, and remember, I called this a marketing wheel, then the next process would be to kind of connect them in a fluid motion. Now, if that was a wheel, that wheel probably wouldn't roll that well, right? So what we do is there's a concept that we believe in, which is called building one bridge at a time. You see, when it comes to marketing, you can't attack all this simultaneously. If that is your plan and you don't have a massive budget, you've got to regroup and say, okay, what is going to make the greatest impact on my business? So let's say in this scenario it was engagement. So you're like, okay, we're going to focus on engagement. How can we improve that? How can we take that 1 and how can we push it out to become a 2? And you start processing that. How can we take that 2 and take it out to a 3 and that 3 out to a 4? And you're like, man, we can live with this 4. Then you move on to the next the next area of your marketing wheel, and the goal is to continually push all those elements out to 5, so you have a beautiful marketing wheel. Now, in an ideal scenario, the reason we're talking about a documented journey is because in the best case scenario, in order to succeed, in my opinion, is you got to have a strategy. Now, Sun Tzu, a famous Chinese general, said this in 200 BC, is that strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory, and tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. You got to have a strategy. So what does that look like? In this type of scenario, my recommendation for any business would be you got to have a playbook for each of those spokes of the wheel. And now I hear you, because you're probably saying, okay, Stormie, that's great and fine and dandy. How in the world do I make a playbook? Otherwise, I would have been making a playbook a long time ago. So we're diving into that. That's where we're at. And then the hub of your marketing wheel, if you can imagine, your spokes of the wheel, we've got the playbook for each of those areas. We have an independent strategy, but the hub of the wheel is my book here, the world's best buyer persona system. And what the world's best buyer persona system is, it's a process of helping you identify where your customers are, what emotions they're experiencing, their pain points, their triggering events. So as you create messaging, whether it's for your marketing messaging, whether for your customer service department, or whether for your sales department, it allows you to create messaging that's designed to resonate with them as they are within their journey. So what do I mean by that? Well, one of the things is we have to understand is that we're in this customer experience or this experiential economy. Like it or not, that's where we're at. Whatever your goods and services are, I can tell you that your goods and services are being compared to the experiences that your customers get from other organizations that are even outside your space. I like to tell everyone that you're in competition with Amazon. And the reason I use Amazon as the example is because they invest a lot of money, energy, and effort to improve the customer experience. I mean, now in many markets, you can order something from Amazon and get it delivered the same day. Are you kidding me? So what are you doing in your industry to disrupt your industry to ensure that you're creating an experience unlike any other? You see, because if you're not doing that, you're just more noise, or you will soon become noise if others decide to get into that before you. The other thing you have to understand is your positioning, meaning that are you following others? Or are you looking at ways to take your industry or your goods and services to the next level to provide a better positioning? What sets you apart? One of the things that sets us apart is that we're known in the industry for creating the world's best buyer persona. Our belief is that this is the foundation to your marketing. So if we build a better foundation, or if we help others build a foundation, that's going to help others grow. The other thing is something that's called a so what me too. Oftentimes when I get into positioning, I'll ask customers like yourself, I'll ask you, tell me your positioning factors. Sometimes there's just silence. They don't know. And that's a problem. And I ask, what sets you apart from others in your marketplace? And I'll get answers like, well, we're family owned. And I'm like, okay, that's great. And are you saying that there are no other family owned businesses? And what makes the fact that you're family owned better than the other family owned businesses? And what I like to refer to is, think of your positioning factors. Is it a so what me too statement? Can someone else say so what me too? If you say I give great customer service, well, then I would push back and say, well, do others in your industry claim that they give bad customer service? You're expected to give good customer service, right? So you really have to dig deep. And I believe in the download, we have a worksheet that will help you with your positioning factors, because those are some of the things that will help you attract your ideal clients. If you don't do it, my belief is you're just more noise in the marketplace, because you're just a so what me too vendor or provider, and we want to avoid that. The other thing is positioning. You see, if we look at this pyramid on your screen right now, if you're considered an A equals B provider, what do I mean by that? Meaning that if I am in the market for your goods and services, and I see no difference between you and your competitors, meaning that you're A, your competitor's B, I really see no difference. What does it come down to? It comes down to price. Whoever has the best price wins. Who wants to be in that arena? Because there's always a bigger, stronger competitor with deeper pockets that can come in and always outperform on price. So a better position to be in is that A is greater than B provider. What do I mean by that? If you're the A provider, if they perceive your goods and services as being superior than that of your competitors, well, that puts you in a stronger position. It puts you in a position to where they're willing to have additional inconveniences, or maybe spend a little bit extra for your goods and services, but that's only going to take you so far. The marketing wheel that I presented to you earlier, and having a world's best buyer persona completed for your business, is designed to elevate you to the top of the pyramid, which is something I call TINB. What is TINB? What does it stand for? TINB stands for there is no B, meaning that if someone is in the market for your goods and services, the best position to be in is that in their mind, they could not perceive doing business with anyone else other than you. They just can't imagine it. They can't imagine others doing business with anyone else other than you. Let me tell you, that's a great position to be in. And the world's best buyer persona gives you the foundation to start building that. And as we continue. So now I have to jump to a different set of slides really quick. So give me just a second. So this way we can continue this process. Stop Stive's presentation. Let's go to part 2. The other thing is you have to understand the radio station that your clients are listening to. The station that your clients are listening to is a station called WIIFM. So anytime you create marketing messaging, advertising messaging, it's not about you, it's about your customer. What does WIIFM stand for? It stands for what's in it for me. So if you can imagine that if you're speaking to your ideal clients or prospects, they're listening to what's in it for me. So you have to think about that for a second. It's not about you. It's not about your goods and services. It's about what's in it for me from your client's perspective. And that's one of the things that this process helps you with. And you must also understand how your prospects make decisions. Here's one of the things I want to share with you. I'm going to ask you to participate here. So get ready to dive into the chat box. How do your customers make decisions? Do they make decisions? Oh, I showed the answer. Not good. But do they make decisions versus with emotions or logic? If you think it's emotions, put a 1 in the chat box. If you think it's logic, put a 2 in the chat box. Let's see what you have here. So how do we make decisions? Do we make decisions based on emotions, or do we make our decisions based on logic? So let me see some chats coming in there. 1, if you believe we make our decisions based on emotions. 2, if you believe we make our decisions based on logic. And I know that, so yeah, it looks like everyone knows we absolutely make them on emotions. As a matter of fact, statistics and studies have shown over and over again is that when we make decisions, 80% of our decisions are based on emotions. Very few of our decisions are based on logic. Where we get confused is oftentimes we'll make our decisions based on emotions and then we'll justify it with logic, thinking that we made illogical decisions. So the reason I bring that up is because oftentimes when I look at messaging, the messaging is based on logic. And if people are making if you're going to create messaging that you want people to resonate with, you got to base it on their emotions. Otherwise, once again, you're just much more noise in the marketplace. Once again, the process, the world's best buyer persona, helps you with that. There's this is something you can look up. I dedicate a lot of information in my book to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So Abraham Maslow was a famous psychiatrist back in the 1950s, and basically what he stated is that we all have a hierarchy of needs. And basically it states that our needs at the bottom of the pyramid that you see here on the screen need to be met before we can move up the pyramid. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's start with physiological needs. Our physiological needs are the needs that need to be met that keep us alive, meaning that I have food, water, shelter, sleep. Once those needs are met and they're not consuming my day-to-day activities, well, the next strongest needs that need to be met are my safety needs. And so the safety needs are the next strongest that need to be met. So this is about your personal safety, having gainful employment, the resources to not only survive, but thrive, and having a good health and property. So those needs need to be met. And then we move up to love and belonging. That's wanting to belong to a tribe. Then the next on the pyramid would be esteem and self-actualization. So the point that I want to make there is let's assume for just a moment. Now, I'm in Las Vegas. It's 110 degrees here. We're close to the Mojave Desert, and they just had the hottest recorded temperature on Earth a few weeks ago. It was 130 degrees. Let's imagine for just a second that you won $1 million. And in celebration of that $1 million, you decide to go to the desert. It's 130 degrees out, and your car broke down. And you feel like you're trapped in the desert. Well, and you know that if you get out the desert, you got $1 million. But what's more important to you, getting to your $1 million or getting some water? Getting some water. Your water needs need to be met. That's your survival. Those are physiological needs. So regardless where anyone's at in the buying cycle, the needs at the bottom of the pyramid take precedence over the needs at the top of the pyramid. And that's so important to understand, you see, because the consumers of your goods and services, their needs need to be met as they're consuming and buying your goods and services. So if, oftentimes I meet with organizations and a B2B organization, and they sell a product that's relatively expensive or a service that's expensive. And we start going through this process to figure out, okay, what needs are being met, and they start thinking about the needs of the organization. And I'm like, well, the organization's not a person, the person who's making the decision. And if it's a very considered purchase, sometimes the person who's making the decision is a middle manager within the organization, and their needs that need to be met may be the safety needs, because they know they have to make the right decision. You know, if they make the wrong decision, they may be thinking they're getting fired. On the other hand, if they make the right decision, they're thinking that I'm going to get a promotion, and it makes my safety needs that much stronger. So my recommendation would be, if we're creating messaging, let's ensure that our messaging is geared towards the safety needs. Oftentimes I see messaging that's geared towards esteem or the wrong category, that's not really resonating with the person who makes the decision as it pertains to your goods and services. So, you know, it's a concept that we can spend 45 minutes on or an hour on to make sure you understand it, but it's something that's very, very important to do. And in the world's best buyer persona system, it allows you to check your messaging with your ideal client to make sure that it's unchecked, because that's so important. So that's where we get into buyer personas. And I'm going to ask you, if you've ever built a buyer persona before, please put a 1 in the box. I just want to see if anyone here is familiar with buyer personas. And if you haven't put a buyer persona, put a 2. I want to see 1s or 2s if you've ever done anything with buyer personas. If you built a buyer persona, pop a 1 in the chat box. If you've never built a buyer persona, pop some 2s in the chat box. I'll give you seconds to do it. I want to see how deep I go in this. Awesome. I'm getting some 1s. So this is so cool, because my perception of buyer personas are, the vast majority of them are weak. I remember when I made my first buyer persona, and I had lots of demographic data, like my ideal client is, you know, a 35-year-old male, drives a minivan, 2.3 kids, making 70 grand a year. And don't get me wrong, that information's fine and dandy, but when push came to shove and I had to apply it to my marketing, it really served no purpose, or very minimal. There should have been so much more to it. I was extremely proud when I put it together, and I was excited that very first time, but I knew it was lacking. And the reason I knew it was lacking, because I didn't use it as part of my marketing. So how do you build a stronger buyer persona, right? Well, we're not even talking about stronger buyer personas. We're talking about the world's best buyer persona. And I know that's a pretty strong claim, but it's because of the world's best buyer persona that Intercom named me one of the top 50 tech visionaries, by taking a process that we've used and made it much better, that's designed to get results. And I believe that if you're not using the world's best buyer persona system in your marketing, you're just going to be noise. Now, in order to do that, we have to understand the buyer's journey. Now, I understand a few weeks ago, you had Amanda Edens speaking for you. Amanda Edens is an employee of HubSpot. If you were in attendance of that particular meeting, she talked about the buyer's journey. As a matter of fact, prior to HubSpot, Amanda Edens used to work for me, and she was very instrumental in the book here. But for those of you that were not in attendance, I'm going to dive into the buyer's journey for just a moment. And basically what it states is this, is that when customers are looking to consume your goods and services, they're either in one of 3 stages: the awareness stage, consideration stage, or decision stage. So the awareness stage, that's when we wake up one morning and we realize, hey, I've got a pain point, I've got a problem, I don't know what the solution is. Maybe I'll turn to Google or start asking friends and family. I'm just aware I've got a pain point, I've got a problem, I don't know what a solution is. That's an awareness stage. Consideration stage. Consideration stage is, guess what? I've identified my problem. I've identified potential solutions to my problem, but I'm not ready to make a decision. Decision stage is someone who's ready to make a decision. Statistically speaking, according to a 2015 study from HubSpot, it states that 96% of the people that visit your digital assets are in the awareness and consideration stage. Only 4% are in the decision stage. And that's one of the greatest opportunities that I see for many organizations as it pertains to your digital assets, is most of your competitors are only creating messaging for that 4%. There's a good possibility you're only creating messaging for the 4%. So how do we start creating messaging to help someone in the awareness stage? Once again, that's the process that we're diving into. I want you to think about this for just a moment. If we understand that 96% of our consumers are in the awareness consideration stage, 4% are in the decision stage, think about this for just a moment. If it cost you $1 to get a pair of eyeballs to visit your goods and to see your goods and services, right? So if you've got $1 and you invest $100 and it costs $1 for a pair of eyeballs, here's your 100 people. Which group is more valuable to you? Is it the 96 people that are in the awareness and consideration stage that may not be buying down the road a piece, or is it the 4% of people that are in the decision stage? What I would like you to do right now in your chat is either type in 96 or type in 4. Which group is more valuable? You're spending $100, cost $1 to get a pair of eyeballs. Which group is more valuable? Is it the 96% or is it the 4%? Please pop it in the chat box. I want to see what you've got there. 96% or 4%. What do we have? Let's see. I'm getting ones again. Is this one here 96 or 4? Let's see. Okay. Well, we'll stick with ones. Basically, it's a trick question, because when we talk about which group is more valuable, is it these 4 people? Is it the 96 people? Both of them are valuable. If you're going to spend money for people to check out your goods and services in your brand, it doesn't matter where they're at. If they're in the awareness stage, decision stage, consideration stage, let's figure out how to be valuable to those individuals. Now, what I have found is that if you start focusing on and paying more attention to the awareness and consideration stage, the scenario that you'll run into is that you'll tend to find less competition there. Because everyone else is competing for the decision stage. And because you have less competition, it allows you to get earlier in the buying cycle, where it's like fishing upstream. So it's a very, very good thing to do. And that's where your greatest opportunity is. Continue on the decision stage. That's where your greatest struggle. And that's where the world's best buyer persona kicks in. If you look at this worksheet, and by the way, I have the worksheet in a download for you. The book gives you access to other downloads. But what it's designed to do versus traditional buyer personas is this. If we look at the top part of this worksheet here, near the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that's all the demographics that we're looking at. Below that, we're starting to identify the trials and tribulations. So as your ideal client identified that they have a pain point, they have a struggle, they have a problem, let's identify what problems here in box number 7 has this situation caused. And then we want to identify these problems lead to what emotions. And we have some resources I'm going to share with you, or in the book, teaches you how to identify what their emotions are. Where does that fall on Maslow's hierarchy of needs? You want to identify their belief systems, meaning that if they take action, what do they believe will happen? If they don't take action, what do they believe won't happen? And then what are their triggering events? Why now? Why would someone be looking for your goods and services now? Why not 6 months ago or 6 years from now? You should know this. Just by having this information here, just by having this information, if you were able to spend time here, do you think that will help you create better messaging to connect and resonate with your ideal clients? Absolutely, it would. But the world's best buyer persona doesn't stop there. You see, by going through this particular process, it helps take your emphasis off of your organization, and it puts all your focus and energy on your clients. And then we continue from there. So the next half of the world's best buyer persona, we start identifying what noise is there in the marketplace. What else are they seeing that pertains to their problem, their issue? What are they being told? What are they hearing from peers and people that they trust? And it's usually 2 groups of people there. They have the half glass empty people, they have the half glass full people. But it will be good to spend time to identify what they're doing, or what they're hearing in the marketplace. This way you can create messaging that addresses both sides. And then you want to know what they're doing about it. Believe it or not, some industries, no one's going on Google to look for solutions. Many of them that they are, but many of them that they aren't. It's a good idea to know what they're doing, so this way you know where to spend your marketing and your advertising dollars. Then what happens is, searching for a solution, we have worksheets that you have access to that will help you gain trust using empathy, identifying what emotions what needs you're meeting with your trust using empathy, respect by providing authority, what gives you the right to provide a solution to that particular client, and then a TINB worksheet. Inside the downloads that I'm giving you a complete TINB worksheet that helps you identify what makes you a there is no B provider. And I got to tell you, that's a great position to be in. And then what happens is, once you go through that process, we can start working on messaging, meaning that in the awareness stage, you see, you've spent time identifying the pain points and the issues that the customer experience. So now you can work with your marketing team or your messaging, your sales team, and identify what type of messaging would resonate with someone that's in the awareness stage. Awesome. Let's create messaging for that. What type of messaging in the consideration stage? Awesome. Let's create messaging for that. And the decision stage. That's really what the world's best buyer persona helps you do. And then what happens is, you want to identify for your ideal clients what they feel like. Remember, we all agreed earlier that that we make decisions based on emotions. So if we make decisions based on emotions, that means there's going to be a certain feeling that happens from these decisions. So what would someone feel like if they win? If they go with your goods and services and your solution, how would that make them feel if everything worked out right? On the other hand, What would they feel like if they lose? Meaning that if they don't take action or they make the wrong decision, what would they feel like then? Because your messaging has to be emotional based. And then what happens is the goal is to take them from one state of emotions to a different state of emotions. That's the process that we go over here in the world's best buyer persona system. And that's why, if you can imagine, and let me ask you this, I'm going to ask you a yes or a no. Let's say you spent time really identifying your world's best buyer personas, and you really gain intimate knowledge of your customers. Do you think that would help you create a better strategy for your marketing wheel? I'm going to ask you to put ones or twos inside the box. By knowing your customers intimately, their pain points, their issues, would that help you create messaging to have better awareness? If that's the case, please pop in ones. If you don't think it would help, pop in twos. Do you think it would help you with your engagement? Will it help with that messaging? With building really getting in depth with your persona, understanding their pain points, their issues, their triggering events? Will that help you with lead generation? Absolutely. Let me see ones or twos in the box. Do you see how a world's best buyer persona could become the hub of your marketing wheel? Because that's what it is. It is the hub of the marketing wheel, and each of these 8 areas becomes the spoke to your marketing wheel. And I see some things that, thanks for sharing. I see Kim, you mentioned stuck in the mud, sometimes one-hit wonders. I see stuck in the mud from Stephanie. So, absolutely, thanks for sharing. So my belief is, in order to be successful in marketing, you got to have a hub, you got to have a marketing wheel, and you got to have a strategy to move forward. So here's one of the things that I want to share with you here is that something that's so important is that you build one bridge at a time. We shared with you these different spokes. And what do I mean by one bridge at a time? Oftentimes I meet with organizations and I see they have a lot of stuff going on, but they end up with a lot of half-built bridges. And what do I mean by half-built bridges? That means if you look at this visual here, we have someone on one mountain top. The goal is to get to the other mountaintop where your pot of gold is, whatever that definition happens to be. But if you head down a path without the 3 elements that we talked about, the documented journey, the actionable metrics, the tools and tactics, you end up with this half-built bridge that doesn't quite get you to the other side. And if you have, oftentimes I start working with organizations and I find out that they have this inventory of half-built bridges, and some of those bridges are so close to completion. So what happens is, if you find out that you have an issue in regards to awareness, let's say if you identify that's what your problem is, my recommendation would be is that's what you work on. You work on that half-built bridge, and let's complete it before you concern yourself with the other items. It can happen much, much faster than you think if you start building one bridge at a time. And then what happens is, if you get in the habit of building one bridge at a time, you start perfecting that bridge and you start building more and more bridges. That's what it's all about. That's really the secret, one of the greatest secrets to marketing. When I see organizations miss out, it's because they're attempting to do everything simultaneously. They don't, and it's almost impossible to do if you think about it in the growth audit that we talked about earlier. Having a documented journey, having actionable metrics, and then having the right tools and tactics. And I don't want you to leave here today of saying, let me implement this and starting another half-built bridge. You probably already have a lot of them. So here's what I'm going to do. I've created a world's best $20 offer for you because I've been able to help a lot of businesses get through this marketing in a post-COVID world. Unfortunately, I don't have the ability as a single individual to help everyone. So here's the world's best $20 offer I'm going to do for you. Inside the chat, if you click on offers, you'll see the offer, but here's what it is. My book, The World's Best Buyer Persona, when it launched, the hardcover was #1 on Amazon's new releases, and the paperback was #2 on Amazon new releases. This book walks you through step by step how to build your world's best buyer persona instead of investing thousands of dollars with me to do it for you. It's a quick read. It gives you all the download sheets that you need to do to build your world's best buyer persona system. If you go on Amazon, buy the book, here's what I'm going to do for you. And if you do it today before 5 o'clock Eastern time, if you buy the book, if you go to this website, igotthebook.com, it will redirect you to a page that I built. And then if you show me proof of purchase that you bought the book, take a screenshot that you bought the book, give me your name and email address. What I'm going to do is give you access to a class that we sell for $197. And that class for $197, it's a 18-part video series that teaches you how to build your playbook of your marketing wheel. Remember the slide I showed you earlier for each of your spokes where there was a playbook for each of the 8 areas? You had a playbook for your awareness, a playbook for your wow. Well, this 18-part series that we sell for $197 will be yours for free. And what I recommend you do is read the book, use your world's best buyer persona, go through the training, take the training for free. And now what happens is you have your playbook for each and every spoke. Then all you need to do is figure out which spoke you want to work on. You work on it, you build it, and then you work on the next. So all you have to do is go to igotthebook.com today before 5 o'clock Eastern. And if you do that, I'm going to give you free access to the course. Pretty easy. And then you go out and build one bridge at a time. I'm going to stop my slides here because I'm going to open it up for questions. I'm going to take myself back to the screen, and I want to find out, this is the time where you can dive into the chat and pick my brain and my mind for any types of questions that you have. And then once again, if you click offers, that will take you to igotthebook.com. Ends at 5 o'clock. If that's something you want to dive into, do it. If not, I get it. Hopefully you got some nuggets in the worksheets without having to spend $1 that will have an impact on your business today. Any questions for me? David, you're on with me.
Yeah, man, that was a lot in a short amount of time. So it's tough to digest. Here's a question I do have though. Let's see, how do we put this? So when you're working through some of your worksheets, like trying to figure out what your buyers, let's say, emotions and problems are, how do you test that? How do you know you're not just fooling yourself on what you personally perceive those things are that may not be totally true?
So great question. One of the things that I recommend people do is the world's best scenario, you can see I use that term a lot, is by having one of your ideal customers, the people you like to that you like to do business with, just one of your raving fans, have them part of the process where you can interview them to get the ideal, to help get the answers, because they will share their emotions with you. But oftentimes that just isn't feasible. They're too busy. So if you don't have the ability of doing that, then the second best scenario is bring someone in that represents a customer facing department within your, from the various customer facing departments within your organization. Meaning you bring someone in from sales, you bring someone in from your customer service side, and then you also bring someone in from marketing. So this way you have different perspectives. You see, your salespeople are going to have a different insights in regards to your customers, as opposed to your customer service, or as opposed to your receptionist, the person who answers the phone. They can help give you better insights. So the more people that you have that are customer facing, usually the better data that you can get. And then what happens is you go out and you test it, see if people start resonating with that messaging. And with social media, you can do that relatively quickly.
Cool. So talk a little bit about you mentioned early on about the customer ladder. And I guess that's something that you have to think through and you integrate with your wheel, your marketing wheel too. Is that a fair statement? So
absolutely. You see, because what happens is oftentimes with many organizations, they miss the point, meaning that they feel that the goal is to get a customer. And what I see is that more times than not, and let me know if you can relate to this, is that once the person writes the check and become a customer, the customer feels great. A relationship has just begun. But the organization, purely based on the actions, they feel that they give the perception that the relationship has just ended because the organization is off trying to get more customers. There isn't a process in there. So if you just do something simple to say, okay, my goal is to take this customer and help them become a client. How can I do that? What would be the process? How do I have to improve our after sales service to make more of our customers become clients? And clients means basically if they had to do this all over again, if you only have a one-time product, or you offer other goods and services, that you're the person that they naturally want to come back to you. What would be a process for that? Let's put a plan together to get more customers to become clients. As a matter of fact, it's 7 times cheaper to get an existing customer to do business with you again than going out finding new customers. And that's the area that most businesses miss out on. So now you got a client, right? How do you get them to become advocates? Meaning that when someone inquires and asks them, hey, I need particular goods and services that your organization happens to offer. What's your process to get them, your clients, to ensure that they recommend you, that they refer you. And that's a process. You know, they may love you, but they're just not thinking of you top of mind. So you have to have a process of staying top of mind. And then the next process is having raving fans. And, you know, raving fans are awesome because those are the people that are out on street corners, you know, telling people how awesome and great you are. They're the people that write the best reviews and testimonials. They want your businesses to succeed as much as you want to succeed. The more raving fans you have, the better off you are.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Thank you. Thank you for that. Talk a little bit about the playbook. I mean, what does that look like? What are we talking about? Are we talking about scripts or a process map, or give a little description of that?
Yeah, so it's different for each of those areas. So let's, you know, when we looked at that marketing wheel, you know, we had the ability of, you had the ability of rating your business on a scale of 1 to 5 in all 8 of those categories. So the first thing you have to do is find out your strengths and weaknesses in that category. And then when we go through the playbook, let's say if it's awareness, one of the things we have you identify is what you're doing now. We have you identify, is it working? Is it not working? Then we have you identify if I think the process, or not, I think the process that we go through is, let's assume you had a rich uncle, and that rich uncle wants to invest in your business. Money's not an object. So we'll have you go through a process of identifying, if your rich uncle were to step in and help you with your business, what are some of the things that you would add to that wish list that would help you in regards to awareness? So we want to identify things that you can do if money or logistics or you know, there was nothing standing in your way. So, you know, that's your wish list. But we also want you to identify things that you can do now, you know, without any resources, and things, you know, that you can do, you would like to do, and then your wish list. And then it's just a matter of, remember, I spoke about building one bridge at a time. We go through a process of identifying what's the one thing that I can do right now based on what I've identified that would help me in terms of awareness. And then I have my aspirational goals, because once I crush that first item, I can move to the second and then the third. And oftentimes you'll find yourself ending your way into that area where you had your rich uncle, and your rich uncle happens to be the additional revenues and profits that you're generating from your newfound customers by implementing this process.
Thank you. That's pretty cool. So how do your competitors fit into this process at all? Do you do any competitor analysis as part of this, or are they just irrelevant at this point?
So remember, in the World's Best Buyer persona, I shared, what are they seeing right now? You know, what are they seeing? What are they being told? What are they hearing? That's the only area that we're looking at competitors. We want to identify what are our competitors doing well, what aren't they doing? The other area that we look at in terms of competitors is on that marketing spoke, the reviews and testimonials, because we will spend time there looking at how are we perceived as opposed to our competitors. If I were online looking for your goods and services, and you're a stranger, your competitor's a stranger, based on what I see in terms of reviews, who am I likely to do business with? It's good to identify that. Are you crushing it in terms of your online reputation, or is someone else crushing it? And then that gives you the ability of where you want to get to, and then start identifying how you can get there. You can start putting a strategy there. So there is a little bit of time looking at competitors, but most of the energy and effort is spent on identifying the psychographics of your ideal client. So this way we can create messaging that's designed to resonate with them. And it starts taking the focus off of us as an organization, you know, where we stop looking inward and we start looking outward. And the more that you can look outward, the better you're going to connect and resonate with your ideal clients. Because you're making them the center of your attention. And this is a process that helps you do that. You just can't help but do it once you go through the process.
That reminds me of a quote by Peter Drucker about the best way to predict the future is to create it. And you know, if you focus on your customers, you'll do that to the detriment of your competitors, I guess.
Absolutely. And it's easy. It's an easy trap to fall into. And by going through this process, it just helps you avoid that trap, because I've seen businesses do it. I'll go in to consult with organizations, and as we're as from the time we start the conversation to the end of the conversation, it was all about me as the organization. And I'm like, okay, that's great. And you have to have the information, but what about the customer? Tell me more about them. Tell me their pain points, their struggles, their issues. How is your goods and services going to help them get to a different state of being? And that's where we start to struggle. And the better you can identify that, the better you're going to relate, because that's what people are concerned about. They're concerned about themselves. They're not concerned about you.
Right. So here's a question from Julie, who is one of our counterparts at the SBDC in Texas. Hello, Julie. I think I'm going to have to connect with you and compare notes.
Julie.
She is asking, they're talking about revamping their marketing there for their small business development center there. So right off the top of the bat, what you know about us, what would be your suggestions that we would perform?
The first thing, really, I would dive into the book. We have to figure out the pain points of, let's think about who you serve. You serve small businesses. Is that correct? You serve business owners, and you serve business owners that many of them are struggling. And if that's who you're looking to attract, or maybe you're looking for the business owners that are thriving because of COVID, but more than not are struggling. So then what happens is you have to identify their pain points, their issues, how are they struggling? And then once you do that, you can start creating messaging that would resonate with this small business owner of what you can bring to the table to help them. Oftentimes when we think about similar organizations to yours or chambers, and we listen to the messaging, it's more about this logic, like, hey, if you join our organization, you can network with 1,000 other business owners, and you'll have resources to these tools. Well, guess what? So what? Who cares? What are those tools going to do to me, or do for me in my business as I'm struggling right now? How is networking going to help me and grow my business right now? So it's changing that paradigm, and that's what the World's Best Buyer Persona helps you do. It allows us to identify what are the pain points and struggles that business owner is going to, and then it's simply about changing the messaging on your outreach messaging, as on your website, your outreach messaging on your social media platforms. So this way, it's messaging that's designed to connect with the business owner. Because imagine, I'm a small business owner. I come across a social media feed, and you have something that is addressing the pain that I'm feeling right now. I'm like, yeah, these guys get me. I am on board. Let me see what else they have to offer, and let me go check them out. That's usually the area that I see organizations missing, because they have stale messaging. It's the messaging that we've always had that's always worked. I'm here to tell you that has changed. We have to address their pain points, their issues, and let them know that it can be a case study that by joining our organization and taking advantage of these benefits that we're able to bring to the table to help you grow your business will help get rid of those sleepless nights, because there's a lot of business owners that are having sleepless nights. Well, over a period of time, we have processes that help you make sure that you're not worried about making payroll, because those are things that many business owners are worried about. It's having messages that's designed to connect with them, their emotions of where they're at right now. Did that make sense? I know I get a little passionate about it, but I hope that helped, Julie. Let me know. I go off in these tangents, so there you go.
That was great. That's what I like, is the passion, Stormie. That's and for everybody to know, he's only had 4 cups of coffee this morning, so he's pretty dialed back today. So Kim has a question. She says she's used the Mosaic buyer persona in the past. Does your process take you through creating a narrative, or does it have written persona narratives already built?
So here's the cool thing. We have our process takes you through a Mad Lib worksheet. So once you complete inside the World's Best Buyer Persona, each of those boxes are numbered. And then if you don't have the creative writing experience, it allows you to transfer your number boxes to this worksheet that gives you this very, very rough framework to build a story. Because when you have an in-depth World's Best Buyer Persona, you may end up with anywhere from 2 to 3 to 5 or 6 typed pages, because as you complete the Mad Lib and you see what that looks like, it allows you to go deeper in each and every one of those areas. So the answer to that question is yes, it helps you build the framework for your written narrative of your World's Best Buyer Persona. And here's the cool thing about it. Once you have that written narrative, it's like you have this emotional attachment customer, and you start giving your World's Best Buyer Persona names. So there's an organization I'm working with right now. One of their buyer persona we just completed this past week is called Warrior Walter. Well, now within their organization, when someone refers to Warrior Walter, if they're doing a handoff for from Warrior Walter to other departments, when that's instilled within the organization, think about the efficiency, because now the person they're handing them over to, they know Warrior Walter intimately. They know his pain points, his struggles, his desires, where he's at on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It makes it so much easier to do the handoff to get better results and greater efficiency with Warrior Walter. So, and now I forgot the question, but yes, it helps the narrative and it helps efficiency within the organization.
Thank you. So Mary asked if you would repeat your offer again about the book.
So on the book, one, you can do two things, Mary. You can click on where your chat is. 2 buttons down, there's something that says offers. I believe there's a red dot next to offers. You can click there. And what the offer allows you to do is, if you go on Amazon, Target, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, wherever you buy books, if you go online, buy the book. And then if you go to this URL, which is called igotthebook.com, what you will see is that I created a landing page specifically for today. And what that landing page is going to allow you to do is to take a screenshot to prove that you bought the book. You're going to give me your name and email address, a screenshot that you bought the book, and then what we'll do is validate it. And then what we're going to do is send you an email with a promotion code. And that promotion code will give you 30 days access to our mastery series, and it's 18-part video courses with worksheets and downloads. So this way, once you do the world's best buyer persona, it will allow you to dive into that platform and start building out your playbook for each of the 8 spokes that we talked about. So now you can build your playbook for your awareness, and it's going to teach you how to identify where you should rate your that scale of 1 to 5 for each of those 8 spokes. So it starts off going step by step, teaching you how to rate yourself. Then after that, it shows you how to build your playbook and your strategy for it. And I think that's a great 1-2 punch. You see, oftentimes we find these offers and we hear things, but we don't have the actionable steps to take action. I've been there. And when I wrote this book, I'm like, no, I'm going to give people actionable steps. So even if you get the book, what happens is, throughout the book, it's going to refer you, okay, go to my website, download this form, because you're going to start using this worksheet right now. When you're done with the book, you've completed multiple worksheets where you're working on your business as you're reading the book, which is pretty awesome. And then after that, the next stage is like, okay, I've got my world's best buyer persona, and now what do I do? Well, if you don't have the marketing savvy to know exactly what to do, and even if you do have the marketing savvy, well, take advantage of this course that we sell for $200. You're getting it for free. Go in there and start building your playbook for each of your 8 spokes, and then you can identify what's the one bridge, what's the one area I'm going to focus on right now. So once again, the website is igotthebook.com. You can click on offers. That'll take you directly to it. And I think it's an incredible offer. I really, really wanted to bring value because I know businesses are looking for solutions and answers. And instead of charging you, $200 for a course, buy the book. Because I know once you go through the process in the book, you're going to want to know the next steps. The training are the next steps.
Cool. Thank you very much. Let's see. We're getting close to the end here. Suzanne asked about the files listed. Ryan, did you release those files there? So that folks can download those. And let's see, any other questions out there? All right. Well, I tell you what, this has been a lot to digest. I mean, I really learned a lot today. I'm sure everybody else did as well. This is really cool. We've been working on a lot about marketing, and this is spot on. And some of your tools we're going to work on here as well. So, Stormie, I can't thank you enough for what you've done today and shared with everybody. You are a fountain of knowledge, and I really appreciate everything you've done today. So.
And I just want to throw one thing in there because you mentioned Julie from the Texas counterpart. It's my goal. One of the things when I started Yokel Local in 2010, one of the reasons I started Yokel Local is because I wanted to do my part to help small businesses that were struggling during the housing, pandemic. Las Vegas was getting crushed. I'm like, if I can just help businesses hire more people, that's where I get my greatest joy and satisfaction. So normally private organizations, I get compensated well to come out and speak for them. But when it's something like this here, if there's other SBDCs or nonprofit organizations that you feel that this information would be beneficial to your organization, reach out to me. Anything I can do to help small businesses get over this hump, I am all in 100%, and I don't want a dime for it. I just want to do my part to help. So I just want to let you know, Julie and the other nonprofit organizations that are out there, if you felt this was valuable, reach out to me. I'll do whatever I can to provide assistance to you.
Thank you so much, Stormie, for that. That is really great. So, Janet, thanks for being here today and doing your great job as always and bringing us in. And Stormie,
I hope everybody stays cool today.
Yeah.
As much as you can.
And you too, Stormie. Stay cool there in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're only at 100 today instead of 130 or 110 where you're at.
So basically what you said is everyone stay indoors.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Either in your car or inside your house. But yeah, that's the only way you're going to stay cool.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you much. And goodbye. Good afternoon, everybody. And stay cool. And we'll see you next week at our usual Wednesday webinar.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.